Alrighty, got a match between VRSmith and Tracer for the A division of the Dominion League, season 62. We don't look at how A division's going. Important thing is that this match could potentially matter for who makes it to the championship. What do we got in this kingdom? Only way to kill estates is with Count. Count's fairly weak. I could imagine you just play with Counterfeit for killing the coppers. The engine looks strong enough though. Stowaway lines up city quarters. And then Courtier for payload works well with both Stowaway and Captain, which are 3-type cards. How would one open? Vassal Exploration is the first thing that comes to my mind. Guarantees you hit 5. Vassal seems like a card that will be better than Silver in this deck, because we're headed towards action territory. What else might you consider? Don't like Anvil early. Cinderdice is kind of awkward with Exploration, actually. And is not great at hitting 5. I could see Stowaway Exploration. That's not technically guaranteed to hit 5. But still really likely. And then you're cycling. I think those are the only things I would consider. I'm going to say probably no Count. I don't think Count's terrible. It's only going to trash estates. And you do have a little bit of synergy with Exploration. Like if you just trash your hand one turn with Count, you're still getting at least a copper and a villager out of it. So I could see Count getting gained. I think I would lean towards just get Counterfeit. It's a better card. I can live with 3 estates. So Tracer does go for Vassal Exploration. VRSmith goes for Anvil Exploration. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Just looks like it's going to be an awkward hand, most likely. So you're either like, you can pitch a copper and gain a thing, but then even if you don't buy anything, Exploration doesn't trigger because you gained a thing in your buy phase. And if you spend your coffer, then you're probably not hitting 5 next turn, because 5-6 likelihood your hand's gonna be 4 coppers and an estate next turn. You really want to hit 5. Alright, Tracer does go for the Count. Let's see if VRSmith agrees. Alright, VRSmith opts for the Counterfeit. I like that better, but I think Count's defensible at the very least. Still don't like the Anvil. That was a lucky Vassal. I would not have played that. Even playing the Vassal and hitting Stowaway, you're foregoing trashing 1 extra copper this way. Not that that's the end of the world or anything. The alternative would just be top decking the Vassal and trashing 3. More Stowaways makes sense. I must say Courtier and City Quarter already for Tracer. Captain City Quarter could also be a reasonable choice. Hunting Lodge certainly is a choice. Hunting Lodge Stowaway. I could see Courtier Stowaway. You're adding an extra target for your Courtier. I don't think that Hunting Lodge is doing enough for you. Ooh, a vassal. Once again, gonna say Courtier City Quarter. And they really like the Hunting Lodge. At least VRSmith gets a City Quarter. I don't understand the Hunting Lodges. I don't think they're doing very, like, your deck is not meant to be draw to X. You got these stowaways giving you large hand size. You're not gonna be pitching your hand. And like the villagers are gonna cover your actions until you can get the City Quarters online. I think these Hunting Lodges are a big fat waste. I would expect a stowaway here from Tracer, given that you have one in your hand. Alas, VRSmith does as well. Burn villager for stowaway instead of buying a stowaway because of Hunting Lodge and shuffle. I don't follow the logic there. See, this is an awkward position. I think as VRSmith, I would immediately buy Stowaway City Quarter here if I had any payload in my deck. But there's no Courtier in the deck so far, so you don't want to debt trap yourself. You can easily get in a situation with some of the debt cards like City Quarter where you get stuck on a loop of like, I bought a City Quarter, now I'm in a ton of debt. Oh, I just barely made it out of debt. The only thing I can afford is a City Quarter, and rather add that than nothing. And then you just kind of stay in debt forever. And I think being in that position is totally fine if you've added the payload to skill up your deck. Like if I can do productive things while I'm in debt, like using Courtier to make money and gain gold and stuff, then it's fine to just be clicking City Quarter on repeat for a while. But neither of them actually has the Courtier yet, so you're going to need to hit 5 once before you can start clicking City Quarter consistently. Yeah, Tracer got one. The decision where I thought it was very obviously causing some trouble was VRSmith's previous turn. So Courtier City Quarter here looks like the only thing I would even remotely consider, but they've surprised me already. Yeah, there we go. Okay, well now we're back in right thinkingville. Are those bottom cards both? One of them's an account. I presume Tracer has a stowaway. It just happened to be on the very bottom. Yeah, there it is. Just barely got there. Okay, I'm going to say second Courtier, maybe a third Courtier and a City Quarter. How likely are you to dud? I think fairly unlikely, right? I think 2 Courtiers and a City Quarter seems safe. Obviously, there's some risk of, oh, your only good target for a Courtier is the stowaway. If it bottom decks like it just happened and you don't draw your deck, your turn gets really bad. So you could do something like Courtier stowaway City Quarter, Courtier captain City Quarter, so you have 2 targets in your deck. But I think with a stowaway in play and 2 City Quarters in your deck, the chance you draw is really high. So I just go 2 Courtiers and a City Quarter. Don't you? Okay, that was definitely not right. You had 3 buys, right? Am I mistaken? They definitely had 3 buys. Yeah, they had 3 buys. 1 from Courtier, 1 from City Quarter. Put more stuff in your deck. The stowaway they just played won't be in deck next turn, but didn't they have a stowaway in play from the previous turn? Yeah, they did. So that stowaway is going back into their deck. Like the only reason I would think, like if you have $10 and 3 buys, you're spending your money and buying the city quarter with the last buy. I'd rather have 2 courtiers and a city quarter in my deck than 1 courtier and a city quarter. You play it and it's already almost paid for itself, or actually even more than that. Like if you manage to draw the gold that you gain off of it, it's more than paid for itself within a turn. The only reason you would not want to do something like courtier, city quarter, and then have 8 deck going in the next turn is if you didn't have payload, which wouldn't be true here, or it's the end game and you want to be able to threaten to pile out, but we're not at that stage yet. So I think that was just a poor decision. I don't think there was any way to draw 2 golds off of these courtiers. Like if you play this city quarter, sorry, if you play the courtier now getting a 2nd gold, city quarter is only going to draw 1 of them. And I don't think there was another play order that would have clearly fixed that problem. $19 and 3 buys. This one's less clear. Definitely at least 1 more city quarter. Captain looks reasonable. More courtiers looks reasonable. You could think about a counterfeit. You kill the golds immediately for value and gain more. And it's also adding plus buy. So they do what they go with the counterfeit. I think my gut judgment was Captain Courtier, City Quarter. But counterfeit obviously very reasonable. He could have had 1 extra buy. Let's go take a look. Yeah, so they took plus action on the first courtier play. I don't remember if they needed that or not. Were there actions to spare? Then yeah, that does seem like probably a mistake then. Because that extra buy could matter there. Then you could do 3 of the things in a city quarter. 2 courtiers, a captain, and a city quarter. 2 courtiers, a counterfeit city quarter. Any of that would be fine. Now we're getting to the point where, like here, I would consider not going into tons of debt. Piles are low-ish. I'm not even sure that it would be bad here, but like right here's when I'd start thinking about maybe I don't want debt. Because what if my opponent lowers the courtier and the city quarter pile heavily? I want the ability to punish that. Gaining a gold off the vassal. Exciting. The last stowaway. You can still activate the stowaways, but now you gotta buy a captain to do it. Captain, this is not its strongest kingdom. Here, the main value of captain is just, oh, it's got 3 types, which makes it a decent backup for the courtier targets. All right, we got a province. I'm thinking 2 counterfeits. Okay. Bottom card looks like the estate. I'm gonna guess there's no win here, but I suppose it doesn't hurt to check. What's the most money Tracer could make here? So you could get 18 off of the courtiers, plus 9 more from the golds, so 27. Counterfeit, 2 more golds is gonna be 9 more, so 36 we're up to. 40 with the vassals, 43 with the count. That's a lot of money. How many buys can you get off of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buys? Don't think 7 buys is enough to do very much here. I would contemplate more closely, like, they actually end up doing it. You could make it a little bit more than that, using Way of the Camel. Like, the vassals count for 2 each if you play them normally. If you can gain a gold and draw it, you're making 3 off the vassal. But I think there's a limit to how many of those you can do. Like, you can't camel the stowaway, I think, very effectively, and still manage to draw the golds. Because you either have to play the stowaway early and then your courtiers have no targets, or you play it late and you don't have enough actions left to draw all the golds. $37. What are we buying? Tricky in-game. Lowering provinces much at all seems dangerous. You could probably afford to take 1 here. I would think hard before taking a second. Without counting, I have no idea whether VRSmith can do 40 or not, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised if it could. With all the counterfeiting and the extra gold gaining, you could easily make a lot of money for 1 turn at least. Is this Fairgrounds currently worth 2 points? No, it's 4. How hard would it be to get it up to 6? So far, you've got Stowaway, City Quarter, Hunting Lodge, Courtier, Vassal, Count, Counterfeit, Gold, Estate, Province, Fairgrounds. I think that's 11 cards. Duchy is 12. You already got a duchy. So I don't think getting it up to 6 points each would be monstrously hard. But it would be a bit of a detour. Oh, does that count all the cards that aren't in his deck? He doesn't have a silver or a copper or a anvil. That's 3. What am I missing? Okay, maybe he has 13. I counted wrong one of the ways. Oh, he doesn't have a captain. So yeah, 12 is right, it looks like. So what's the simplest number to win here? 48 and 6 buys would do it. Or is Duchy City Quarter cheaper? Probably not. That's 35, 45, 51 and 10 buys. Yeah, I think Province Pile remains the easiest target for the moment. Is there something with the estates? 8 estates only gets you to 17. How much money is 8 estates, 2 duchies, and 3 city quarters? 16, 26, 36, 42, 42, and 8, 9, 10, 13 buys. So that's the least money if you just have unlimited buys. I don't think they have quite that many. You can get a lot of buys counterfeiting your counterfeits, because the first counterfeit's 1 extra buy, but the second counterfeit, if you counterfeit your counterfeit, is getting you 2 extra buys. But I still don't think they're getting to 13 buys. Those bottom 4 cards, I believe, have 2 counterfeits in them, and a 4th stowaway. And don't know what the last card is. Who has 3 courtiers? I don't know what the last card in the deck is. Yeah, it's not a courtier. The anvil, good call. Okay, so we get at most 1 more gold off of this. How much money is this? 46. So 6 from the courtier, 8 with the vassal, 9 from the copper. Then you got 18 in gold, that's 27, 28 with the anvil, and then 14 more, 42. I'm getting less. What did I miss? Oh, there's 3 money in play. That's 45. I missed that. So I'm still missing 1 money relative to what Swordfish Trombone counted. So 2 from the vassal, 6 more from the courtier, that's 8. 9 with the copper, 27 with the gold, 28 with the anvil, and then the counterfeit's going to make 4, 5, and 5. That brings you to 42. There's 3 money already. I think it's 45 money. I could be missing something. I guess for purposes of piling out estates, anvil discarding copper is like making 1 extra money. Anyways, it seems like we don't have quite enough money for the province pile, unless 3 extra money shows up out of nowhere. Which is a real bummer, because with a slightly better draw, like if the city quarters had lined up slightly better, it would not be hard to get 3 more money here by cameling 1 of the stowaways before doing your courtier stuff and drawing an extra gold. So I think VRSmith is actually suspiciously close to the 48 number and just didn't quite have the starting draw for it. Anyways, we said the estate pile out costed less, but took a bajillion buys. How many does he have? 2 buys now, 3 with the courtier, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with the counterfeits. You could counterfeit the anvil to get up to 10 gains at the cost of some money, so I don't think you got the estate pile out either. Oh, a fairground city quarter pile out. I didn't look at that. 30, 46, and 8 buys. That sounds right. Is that enough points? Presumably so. You only need 12 points. Would you have at least 10 uniques in your deck? Probably. 1, 2, 3 in play. 4 with the hunting lodge. Vassals 5. Copper 6. Gold 7. Anvil 8. Counterfeit 9. Yeah, easily. Oh my god. Johnson's alive. So we counterfeit a bunch of golds. So Fairgrounds piles at 24, duchies are at 30. An extra hunting lodge, intriguing. These decks are getting worse. That does seem like it was a fairly unfortunate draw for Tracer, though, right? They bottomed it to a decent number of their actions. Anyways, how much you making here? That's true. You could have bottomed at least one of the city quarters. Okay, so 14 money already, 26 with the golds, 30 with the counterfeit. So you can get up to 33 or 30 in a duchy with the count. That doesn't look like it'll pile anything. Is 4x province enough? Absolutely not. So if you take 4 provinces, so VRSmith trivially ends the game by the last province, and then the question is just, can they score more than 4 provinces worth in points? And surely. I wouldn't say 4x province is necessarily the worst play. You'd just be playing for, I hope my opponent duds somehow. Which, I mean, VRSmith does have 8 extra cards of draw coming in, but also only has 3 city quarters in the deck, so, you know, that could happen. I'm not sure what the most effective way to play for a dud is here. So if you didn't touch anything of relevance here, how much would it cost for VRSmith to win? Provinces cost 40. I don't think they have... Maybe they have the buys for the estate pile out. Estates plus city quarters would cost 30. No, 32. How much does it cost to beat 4 provinces, I guess is the question. So, if you take 4 provinces, VRSmith has to... Alright, so they're going for the 4 province line. We'll see if that's harder to beat. I would think probably the easiest way to beat 4 provinces is going to be a province and a bunch of fairgrounds, and then pumping them up to 6 points each. I'm not sure how many uniques VRSmith has. We got, let's count them. Stowaway, City Quarter, Hunting Lodge. Oh, I should be counting down. Didn't we establish that? We don't have a silver. We don't have a count. So we have 14 uniques, seems like. Yeah, so getting 6-point fairgrounds should be trivial. I imagine this is winning very easily. Like overshooting by like 15 points or more. I don't think we'll see that. Like if you calculate that you got a sufficient win, you're not going to try to maximize points. But you know, you could gain a bunch of extra golds here. Play a few of the stowaways as Way of the Camel, like that. Get a bunch of golds, counterfeit all the golds. This is plenty of money. Yeah, I agree. Not counting seems to be what caused VRSmith to win this one. I still don't like the anvil open. Anvil at a slightly later point could be good. Like having a bunch of stowaways in the deck clearly helps here. But man, opening anvil, I don't know about that. Okay, so we have 3 golds in exile. This courtier will gain a 4th gold. Currently, you could easily draw that. Gain an estate. A silver. Okay, that works too. I was thinking about buying the curse for the 15th unique card. Silver if you must. So overshooting by 17 points, looks like. Looks like I was right. Okay, what do we have here? I wasn't off by 2. Didn't it say 15 or more? I could only be off by 2 if it ended up being 13. So we got Cursed Village and then a bunch of hand size increasing cards. Bit of anti-synergy there. Looks like it's a bridge mega turn. Sentinel thins very easily. You got Cursed Village and Throne Room for villages. You got a bunch of bridges. Presumably that's what you're going to do. I'm guessing Enchantress and Haven don't look like they're that important, because you don't need a large starting hand size with Cursed Village around. But they're not useless. I can imagine scenarios where you get them. You know, an Enchantress allows you to play with fewer Cursed Villages and then be more likely to find at least one in your starting hand. Trickster Capital, I'm going to guess it doesn't work. Each other player gains the curse. Once this turn, when you discard a treasure from play, you may set it aside, put it in your hand at the end of turn. Yeah, so Trickster Capital doesn't do the thing you'd want it to do. Capital has these synergies where if you can play it for 6 money and then not discard it, you don't actually take any debt, because you don't get the debt from playing the card, you get the debt from discarding the card. So for example, one of Dominion's well-known power cards, Crypt, sets aside the capital from play, so it never actually gets discarded from play, and so you don't take the debt. It's just all upside. Trickster doesn't, because it sets it aside when it's discarded from play rather than before. I think Herbalist changed. If you look at Herbalist's old text, it makes capital avoid the debt, but the new version discards it, or sets it aside when it's discarded, and so Herbalist Capital no longer works. Mandarin Capital also no longer works because Mandarin died. Does Haven actually help? I'm gonna say yes. Haven can be a village later on because there's Way of the Ox. So you just have like extra junk action cards that you can play as villages can be potentially helpful. So I'm gonna say Haven's better than nothing. Oh, that's a sad Sentinel. Didn't get to trash any estates. You can still add Mandarin manually, right? Yes. I know in Dominion Dot Games, I don't think the 1E cards from Base or Intrigue were ever added, because those were removed before Dominion Dot Games was created. But all the cards that got removed since then still exist. They just never show up on their own. But you could manually add them to a kingdom if you just really wanted to play with some Mandarin. Silo Sentinel is sad unless your Sentinel is one of the bottom 2 cards of your deck. Oh my goodness! Look at this hand. Poor VRSmith. This is never gonna trash a copper. I unironically wonder if you could just set aside the Sentinel, playing Overlord as Haven, or is the medicine worse than the disease in that case? That's some frustrating draws. Cursed Village. Yeah, so if it weren't 3 estates in your hand, I would think the immediate play would just be to throne the Sentinel there and then trash 4 cards. The problem is the 4 cards you trashing would be like all coppers, and you'd have no payload left in your deck. Okay, here we go. Some estates are gonna die. What's the last card? Is it It's not a curse. The curse was trashed. I guess the last card's a copper. A throne room. No, it's not a throne room. Oh, you're saying play it as throne room. Yeah. In general, if you've got a throne room in the kingdom and a bunch of overlords, probably the first overlord should be a throne room. Because you play that overlord as a throne room, you still get to play 2 overlords when you play the second overlord. Aside from the first overlord being throne room, oh, well, I don't know about that. This is such a weird play. What are you doing? They thought about this real hard. Are they going to trash 4 coppers? So, again, if you wanted to play an Overlord as a Cursed Village, why wouldn't you play Overlord as Throne Room, then play the second Overlord as Cursed Village, causing you to draw 1 extra card? I'm pretty sure they've just passed up on 1 money and top decked a copper for no reason. I mean, I guess with Silos, it's not no reason. But I would take the 1 extra money. What happens when you Overlord Throne, Overlord Duration? Oh god. What does happen when you... So you play an Overlord as a Throne Room, and then an Overlord as a Duration. So the Overlord that played the Duration stays out. And a Throne Room that played the Overlord... I think a Throne Room that played the Overlord that played the Duration wouldn't stay out, and so the first Overlord doesn't. Like Throne plus Duration plus Command is the some nightmare rules interactions. So, to my knowledge, a command card stays out as long as the card that it played would stay out. So if a command card plays a duration card, it stays out as long as the duration would have stayed out. And then a throne room that plays a duration card stays out. But I don't think there's an equivalent rule that says a throne card that plays a card that stays out because it would have stayed out if it were a duration card stays out. So I think throne on command playing duration, there's no rule that would cause that throne room to stay out, I believe. I sound like I'm reciting Kant. What makes objects good is not in the objects themselves. We're not for our desires. We not find objects good. We think things are important because they're important to us. Must therefore take ourselves to be important. If there is any such thing as a reason for action, then humanity is the source of all reasons, must be valued for its own sake. It follows that human beings are valuable, and enlightenment morality is true. I can't do OG Kant, but I can do Kant derivative sources. Too bad Overlord still costs 8. Yeah, at some point in this game, Overlord's going to become certainly not worth buying. More havens. So silos will make it easy to kill the last few coppers, but this last estate will not go down without a fight. I'm going to assume VRSmith is way behind just looking at the amount of stuff in this deck, and I have to imagine the 3 estates had something to do with that. This is payback for the last game, because the last game VRSmith just didn't trash any estates and won. Yeah, I think with Donald Ducks on that one, that totally sounds like something DZ would say. If you want to convincingly demonstrate that you're not DZ, you have to say something like, I've eaten a taco before. This poor state. With you to the bitter end. Okay, so Tracer has 2 Overlords, 2 Bridges, and 2 Throne Rooms. VRSmith has 1 Overlord and 1 Bridge, and a Silver, and a points lead. I guess the build is to CV Throne Bridge. Yeah, for sure. the 3 things your deck should be doing later in the game is Curse Village, Throne Room, and Bridge. Non-command cards just care if they're a duration, or played a duration. Command cards care how long the card they played would have stayed out. Yes, I think I was correct about the interaction between Throne Room, Overlord, and duration cards. I think. I've definitely been in situations where I thought I was cheating the limit, and then the card stayed out anyway. So I'm not an infallible authority on the matter. Throned Overlord as both CV and Throne Room is cheating. Yeah, Overlords with Thrones tend to be pretty good. Although I'm not sure that that's really a synergy so much as both of those things being individually very strong cards. I guess there's some synergy there, because like Throne Room's a card that works really well when you play it in the right spot, and Overlord is good at playing things in the right spot. Yeah, I think to be a synergy, the 2 cards together have to impact the kingdom more than the combination of how much each individually impacts the kingdom. Were you right? Was I right about the Overlord thing? I still think I was. I would never take an Overlord again. Yeah, as VRSmith, after this set of draws, I would forswear Overlords in perpetuity. my answer to the rules question, my answer was the overlord that plays the duration stays out, but the throne room that hypothetically played the overlord wouldn't stay out, and so the overlord that plays that throne room does not stay out. The much simpler way to cheat these things is, like, let's say you had 2 enchantresses per turn. Like, you have 4 enchantresses in your deck, you're playing 2 per turn. Throne, enchantress, enchantress means only one throne stays out, because only one throne played both enchantresses. The throne playing the throne that played the enchantress does not stay out. I think that's the simplest case, because that comes up a lot with just like almost any throne room and duration draw card, where you usually want to make sure that you are doing throne on the durations. That also, I think, is relevant to, like, let's say you're playing a bunch of King's Courts, for example. And there's usually not much of a functional difference, but there's a very much a stylistic difference between people who play all their King's Courts first and then play a bunch of action cards. Oh, and Tracer won the game. Yeah, that was kind of predestined. Versus people who, like, play King's Court, then they play 2 actions, then they play King's Court, then they play 2 more actions, then they play King's Court, etc. I'm definitely in the former category, but I think that play order can make it easier to miss opportunities to, like, use 1 King's Court on 3 durations if you're not being careful. All right, what have we got here? Some fun plunder action. So stowaways draw, magnates draw, first mate kinda sorta. You got plenty of thinning between replace, pickaxe, rope, ducat kinda, remake. Villages are awkward. A remake that trashes 2 trails is a village. First mate playing multiple trails gets you a village effect. You could trash a trail with a rope at the start of your turn for a village effect. So you can definitely make the villages work here. The thing I'm wondering is, I think my inclination would be to play with a bunch of loots off of pickaxe and draw your deck with magnate. But I could see a case for, like, first mate draw to X with replace being the main payload. That deck doesn't sound ridiculous. I guess a combination, like, remake would also be a good payload in that deck. All these decks, I think, want trails. Probably the first mate deck wants the trails a little bit more badly. Oh, Order of Astrologers is also very good here. I hadn't even noticed that. How do you get favors? Ooh, you've only got 5 favors to work with for the whole game. But, like, top decking a magnate, for example, could be really good. Or a trail, like top deck a magnate. If you had more favors to work with, I would like to top deck like a trail and a magnate every turn. Trash the trail with rope, play the magnate, you kick off. What happened to Mort? I am Mort. The old Mort is dead. Long live Mort. What did they end up opening with? So VRSmith has the 5/2. I think I agree with replace. I mean, remake would be reasonable as well. But on the optimistic case, finding replace turn 3, you just gain a remake and top deck it, which VRSmith was lucky enough to do. On the 4/3, remake stowaway, I like that as well. If they collide, presumably you find at least one estate, and then you can trigger your stowaway off of gaining a remake, or gaining another stowaway, or importer if you so desire. I don't think importer looks great here, but I could see playing with an importer. You gain a few 5s off it, and then you pickaxe it later. Wouldn't be unheard of to gain an importer here. Oh, right. I forgot about astrologers again. Oh, so yeah, in that case, yeah, 1000% open replace. Because you know you're going to top deck it, and a top deck replace is a good card. Yeah, I just totally forgot. Did Tracer top deck both buys as well? Oh, they top deck 2 estates. Remake and a stowaway. How do I feel about that? Top decking remake and stowaway seems reasonable. Top decking an estate to be extra safe seems reasonable if you don't want to just roll the dice on finding at least one estate. 2 estates, I don't know. That seems like overkill to me. The favors are kind of valuable. I mean, in general, it's a good idea to spin the favors early if they do anything for you, and then you got a kickstart that pays for itself. I don't know if trashing a second estate immediately was worth the favor. When you'll pick up a pickaxe or never? I'm gonna say soon-ish. I actually don't know if this person's listening, but again, it's conditional on the type of deck you're building. I think if you're playing with the magnate, draw your deck strategy, then you want pickaxe for payload. I could imagine playing with just first mate and replace and remake as your payload cards, and that deck wouldn't really want a pickaxe. But I think I like the magnet idea better. I think that deck wants some pickaxes. The trigger about pickaxes, like, you don't want to trash your junk cards with it. It can trash them, but it's not particularly good at it. Like a $5 card that gives you 1 money and trashes a card from hand is not great. You'd get pickaxe at then if you didn't have alternatives, but like you really want pickaxe for turning your middling cards into loots, like a silver that you opened with, or in this case, trails are good targets. This replace doesn't have a whole lot to do. What do you do with it? I'm not sure. Could just not play it and buy it 4. Could gain a ducat, trashing 2 coppers. Could gain an estate, curse them, and then buy a stowaway or something. I'm not really sure. Nothing looks great. There's a bunch of options that look okay-ish. We do go with the estate line. I don't know if anyone noticed, but Trail is such a broken card. Trail is a lovely card. I don't think it's broken. It's probably like a solid 4 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, Trail synergizes with enough stuff that there's pretty much always something you can do with it. Is there a way to trash it? Is there a way to discard it? Is there a way to gain it? Probably yes to at least one of those. Top deck a... Wait, Trail is not what I anticipated. I was expecting a first mate. Why gain a trail there in particular? I mean, you're happy to have trails in your deck, but it doesn't feel like that trail's doing a whole lot for you all that imminently. Bring back Workshop. From where? Workshop's not gone. Yet. Just wait for base 3E. How does Tracer open remake and have all 7 coppers? Got a little bit trail happy. So far, we're seeing more of the first mate stuff, and not so much of the magnate stuff. I wonder if that's by design, and they just plan to do the first mate stuff from the get-go. Or it could just be a situational thing, like, oh, I have a replace in hand and a trail. What's better to top deck right now? A first mate to draw back up? I'm not sure. We do see a pickaxe. I'm not sure how much indication that is of a long-term strategy. Why trash your junk when you can gain things? I have no idea what you buy here. This buy might be very suggestive for what the long-term goal is, and that seems to suggest we're heading to first mate land. I like the idea of the magnates a lot, but I would expect them to have probably more ropes in their deck at this point if magnate were on the menu. Because rope would help you, A, it's a treasure, but then B, it helps you line up an early magnate and then draw your deck. Yeah, I mean, buying a remake there would not be ridiculous. VR's dud here, puts Tracer back in it. Unless Tracer gains a duration card. Doesn't look like they will. I think the gold gain was just a misclick. They forgot they had a second replace a remake to resolve and accidentally trash the replace instead of playing it. This is a nice starting hand. But now imagine if we had some ropes and magnate. That deck would never dud. Most likely. Alright, so we're very close to pilot territory. First mate, stowaway, and estate are all pretty low. What does one gain off of this trail? First mate does not feel like it was the right answer here. Maybe another replace would have been better. Or even a remake. I think a remake would have been good in that hand. I hate to say it, but I think the magnate ship has sailed at this point. I am not expecting Tracer to get a pickaxe at this point in the game. Okay, not the most inspiring hand for Tracer, but there's 4 more cards coming in, and you just have to find a trail to have a decent turn. So can you win here? Yeah, 4-point deficit. Need to gain a first mate and 3 stowaways. Looks like we're going for it. Is it in hand? I'm thinking it's already in hand. Wait, why didn't that first mate top deck? The one that was gained off of the remake? Game 2 to VRSmith. Or game 3. Or... This is game 3. 2-1 VRSmith, I think. Ooh, rats. And with City State, your rats can play rats. And then you just trash 2 cards. Okay, so... Village situation is pretty limited. The only village here is actually Bauble gaining favors to city-state action cards. So you got to choose your terminals judiciously. Looks like you can still build a decent deck here. There's also not very much in the way of payloads. You're probably just playing with treasures. But you got plus buy. Probably Bauble is better than Messenger. You want bubbles anyway for the village effect. You can draw with Sea Witch, Hireling, Apprentice Rats. Pilgrimage seems pretty good here. VRSmith, I think, is a known Pilgrimage hater. We'll see if they get it. But this is the deck where you're happy to just shove a bunch of value in your deck, and then you can apprentice the extra cards for draw. How would one open here? Maroon Silver seems pretty natural. Chaser goes with Pageant. I think Maroon Pageant seems alright. You're not really getting the upside of... Ooh, I don't like that. Is Rat City State the only village? Depending on how you count it. Like, you could use the city-state to buy and play a hireling, for example. But basically... Tracer's trying to bum rush Sea Witch. Yeah, but you could just have an opening that hits 5 consistently. No time for hireling. I could see getting a hireling here. I wouldn't rank it as my top priority, but hireling does not seem unreasonable. Yeah, the city-state makes hireling look a lot more desirable than otherwise would, because it fixes hireling's big problem of you got to put this terminal card in your deck that does nothing when you play it. You just play it immediately. Problem solved. I would hope VRSmith adds some rats pretty soon. Triggering that without a print in the shuffle seems bold. Let's see, what was in this hand? So Tracer had a hand of 2 coppers, a state, apprentice, and a bauble. They drew it into their deck, they played a rat. That might have been a dubious reshuffle, I don't remember the exact context. I guess we can top deck an apprentice here. Yeah. Bishop would be nice here. Bishop would be alright. I could see playing with bishop as a terminal if it existed here. Probably not till after the curses run. Alright, hireling has been gained and played. Who drew 2 sea witches dead? Ooh, VRS, that's a terrible draw. I missed that. Yeah, I think I'm not sold on the double sea witch thing. At least not in advance of rats. I like the choice to open with maroon. I think it's doing more for you immediately. But I would have added rats a bit sooner than that. Three baubles is more than I expected. No, bauble looks great here. Kill this sea witch. You know you want to. Coward. There was a second sea witch down there. You were gonna get to play a sea witch either way. And who wouldn't buy an extra rats? Yeah, the trouble is there isn't real payload in this kingdom. For Tracer Messenger, for Car Guard. What do you buy as Tracer? They could do the Innovate Hireling thing here, although they have the apprentices to have enough draw. Pilgrimage, perhaps? I'd be down with like Pilgrimage plus Messenger for Caravan Guard. Or Messenger for Messengers even, maybe. Goodbye, Maroon. This would be a great turn for Pilgrimage. I mean, it's not the fastest kingdom of all time. We're still pretty far from anything happening. I think you got time for a pilgrimage. It's one of the 5 pillars of Dominion. There we go. Even the heretic VRSmith took a pilgrimage this game. Why do only 3 things use the journey token? Why doesn't journey use the journey token is the real question. They could have said flip your journey token over. If you flipped it, take an extra turn. Yeah, that's not at all a convincing not DZ impression. Star Tropics are reminding me how many things use the pirate ship mat. The answer's kind of depressing. Native Village's mat was a card. It became a mat because why would people pay what 300 cards cost for just cards? Oh yeah, I remember. At some point it was mentioned that the sets had extra stuff, like mats and tokens and stuff, because people liked paying for stuff, not just cards. I very much am the opposite. I look at a board game and it annoys me when there are more pieces involved than absolutely necessary. Like if I look at something, I'm like, you could have done this without having 20 extra tokens in the bag. I get upset. There are a lot of board games I've never purchased, but just like make an Excel sheet with just the layout of the board game and play in Microsoft Excel. Like Battleship or something. Real easy to draw up a 10x10 grid. You need to buy the fancy little thing with all the pegs. Alright, so Tracer can dominate here. You're tardy to the party, Xerix. Province Caravan Guard. Well, then he's exceptionally tardy. Do we just double here? I'm gonna say single and a pilgrimage and something. Kind of like what Tracer just did. VRSmith still only has the one apprentice. Has one died? No, it's just 3-1 on apprentices. Where? Okay, they still have 2 rats, but they have 2 coppers left. Yeah, I'm gonna say single pilgrimage and and I don't know, silver, single pilgrimage silver. Final answer. And then 2 favors for purposes of playing a hireling next turn, probably. All right, we see 3 buys, which does not indicate double. Province, pilgrimage, silver. Could be caravan guard as well. Yeah, with only 1 apprentice, I'd be a little bit worried about drawing. Miser uses the tavern mat and not like a miser mat. Miser should use exile. That would be a more interesting interaction. The +1 coin converts to a coffer, which I think is probably worth more than a favor. Or did they do too many plus coins? Oh. If Miser used exile, that would still be a bad card, but it would occasionally be a slightly less bad card. And it would synergize with Fountain. Or actually, it already does that. It would synergize with the stuff that works with exile. Garrison creates confusing rules, is what Garrison does. That is a beautiful starting hand for Tracer. What more could you ask for? Yeah, Rats is just in general a much stronger card than Sea Witch, and this kingdom is very demonstrative as to why. Double plus Pilgrim. If we have that much, looks like we do not. The trouble with Garrison is it doesn't actually work if the tokens aren't where they're supposed to be, which is very confusing. Because a lot of cards track things, but the tracking is just like, it's advisory. So, province, pilgrimage, silver. Off of the pilgrimage, you gain a hireling, a gold, and an apprentice. Well, let's see. We've got 16 money in the deck at the moment. 17 with the coffer. Gold bring it to 20. Maybe you do hireling. No. It'd be nice to have 24 money. Is something I'd be thinking about here. And that to me is what the hireling gold silver suggests, is they're threatening to hit 24, which makes Tracer's life awkward. Could have also done apprentice gold silver. I'm not sure which of those is the more reliable choice. But now you put Tracer in the awkward spot of, if they buy any provinces, It's looking like a potential loss. I wonder what happens if you do province double duchy. Because that line would at least make it not easy for VRSmith. Because if they apprentice a province to draw, then they tie. 4 duchies, possibly. Oh, never mind, not possibly. You've led me astray, Iris. Oh, also, yeah. Because they had to use all the baubles for coin and buy already. Give out a curse. Oh, this is cute. There's not a way to net make money off of that, is there? I don't think so. Like, if you had 4 favors and messenger to messenger, you'd still just be breaking even. That'll do it. Is that 3-1 now, I think? This kingdom looks unpleasant. I don't like this. I think it's 3-1. So plenty of trashing. You got goat, you got monastery, mostly goat. That'll get you thin. But villages, you got encampment as a village. And then you can use plus buy to play extra stuff, but there's no non-terminal plus buy cards. It's like Tragic Hero is kind of non-terminal if you spend the buy to set something aside. Pixie, I guess, has 2 boons that function like villages. I would think you're probably building towards a groundskeeper stack here. But this just seems like it's going to be decided by various unpleasant things early in the game. Yeah, like, I'm not sure what actually happened. Let's go back and look. Inherited could make a big difference because the vassal triggers a shuffle. So finding your goat turn 1 is much better than finding it turn 2. It looks like both of them found goat turn 1, so at the very least that was fairly equal. Oh. Encampment and delay Tragic Hero, I would think. No, just double encampment. Intriguing. I question that. Yeah, like a delayed Tragic Hero will will pop itself, unless you get militiaed. Like, Tragic Hero from a standard 5-card hand does not activate, because you end up with 7 cards in hand. But playing a Tragic Hero from set-aside land while you have 5 cards in hand will activate it. Farmhand has a skill multiplier of 2.0. That's like insanely high, right? I want to say the high end normally is like 1.3 or something. Yeah, absolutely not. The new cards are just super volatile. Wait, are Marcus's stats being updated again? I thought that whole thing was broken for a while now. So skill multiplier is a measure of how much more likely is the better player to win in this kingdom as a result of some card being there. So, like, take 2 players, one of them's better, one of them's worse. In your perfectly average kingdom, let's say the better player is like 60% likely to win. And then ask, all right, if you know that Farmhands is in the kingdom, is the player who is antecedently better more than 60% likely to win in this case, or less than 60% likely to win? And then that difference is the skill multiplier. The idea being cards that are like more difficult to play mean it's more likely that the better player will win than usual, because there's more time for skill to shine through. Whereas cards that make the game very random will reduce the skill multiplier, because the winner is going to be closer to random chance. There are bad players who are playtesters to even things out. Yeah, like DZ, that guy's a chump. Good thing he's not present. Sure he is. In general. On things that are not related to rules. Two plunders. No way. Yeah, so DZ is only infallible on rules-related matters. And only when he's speaking ex cathedral. So like the emojis, like the thumbs up and the X's, you can trust those. Anything else, you should doubt. I don't think getting a majority of the plungers matters here. I mean, like, I would take plunger over gold, for example, if my tragic hero popped. But I'm not going out of my way to win the split. I wonder if delaying the Vassal is better than playing it. Well, certainly you don't need the money, but you might need the buys. I'd be more worried about that. No Groundskeepers is surprising. No Pixies, I'd think, is also very surprising. Pixie is a great card, and I think one of the most highly gained cards in the game. Like, if you look at the gain rate stats, Pixie's up there with, like, Silk Merchant and Bounty Hunter in them. And, I mean, not that it's, like, the strongest card, but it's, like, a cheap card that just is never bad and always does something for you. And so it's really rare to see where you don't buy Pixie at some point. Pixie is always a high roll for Mountain. I don't agree with that. Let me think about the most definitely the boon I most often find myself wanting is Swamp's Gift. I'm not gonna say that's because it's like the strongest boon, but I really enjoy playing the deck that's just, I'm gonna put 10 Pixies in my deck and pop them every 12th play, and then eventually I'm gonna have all the Will-O-Wisps, and that's my deck. Aside from that, the trashing one can be really good in the right context. But there is Goat, which I believe is intentionally attached to Pixie, specifically so that the trashing boon is less important. But the Flame's Gift definitely is good. I think probably the most common one I pop it for is Plus Card, if I had to guess. The Sea's Gift is just the thing that you often situationally want. River's Gift is pretty good too. Most of them are valuable. Probably the rarest Pixie one has to be Moon's Gift. Moon Boon is just terrible. The Fear Duchy. Okay, so we have 2 piles low. What is the third pile that we're worried about? Camel Train? That duchy seems a little bit premature to me. Yeah, I would have expected a Groundskeeper there over a duchy. Yeah, like buying a duchy to avoid a pilot is frequently a very reasonable thing to do. It's just that I'm not seeing the pilot that they're seeing. Ooh, VRSmith lost an encampment. That's a bummer. Is that not gonna be 4-1? Tracer's got to be in a good position after this. Do you want all those golds in your deck? Like, maybe? Yeah, definitely not Vineyard here. Half the actions in your deck have a tendency to kill themselves between Encampment and Tragic Hero. And Pixie would too. Yeah, I think that this is just not a Vineyard Kingdom in a lot of ways. Groundskeeper's way more points. You don't have that many actions. You don't have the extra buys to spin on Vineyard. Okay, we killed another Tragic Hero. Okay, this seems more like what I would have expected last turn. Bunch of Groundskeepers. Do you really need all these golds? Are you sure you need all these golds? I'm not sure that you do. Oh yeah, for sure. But the decision to unexile the 2 golds was a very voluntary one that was not required for the buy. You trashed the monastery. So for sure, groundskeeper. I'm not sure what you buy here. Tragic Hero, Encampment, Groundskeeper, Province, all those sound okay. Man, imagine if you had a Pixie and you got Forest's Gift at any point in this game. That would be huge. Can VR win? It does not look great. That's for sure. There are not enough actions. The Vassal was the action card we chose to play there. Interesting. Why the Vassal? Is the bottom card in action and they're taking a 50-50? I don't know what the bottom card is. Pixie, there we go. Wait a second. You didn't buy the Pixie. VRSmith went with the fake out. So Tracer has managed to bottom deck 3 encampments. Groundkeeper Province, I'm guessing. Yep. Tracer has all the encampments, but pretty soon he's not going to have the action cards to make use of all the plus action that he's getting. The Tragic Heroes are dying rapidly. Yeah, like you don't need a lot of money in this deck. There's a lot of 2-cost cards I'd be very happy to buy here. This encampment has stayed in the pile for multiple turns now, just because neither player has the buys. Militia hurts a lot here. Oh, like this specific hand? It hurts a bit. It's putting that junk back on the shuffle, which is kind of annoying. There are 2 more encampments down in the bottom. Or 3 more encampments. Are those bottom 3 cards all encampments, actually? I think they are. Nope, just 2 of them. Oh, right, one of them's in the supply. It's 3-1, not 4-1. Well, now you gotta buy Province because you're behind on points and piles are low. I wonder if it might have been sensible to send back an encampment there just to make the pile out harder. Like if VRSmith found encampment here, this would be a win. Would a magnate have fit at any point? No way. Magnate's it's a terminal action that doesn't buy you things. Oh, did they have it anyway? Where'd the action come from? Oh, they did find their encampment. I missed that detail. That was a bit of a surprising loss. It seemed like Tracers got away from it in the end game. Yeah, some luck was involved in those final 2 turns as well. Tracer bottom decking all encampments, and VRSmith finding the 1 encampment off of a vassal play. Alright, so we got capitalism. What does that affect? Forager, improve, and harbor village. Capitalism does not strike me as too relevant here. I mean, it is fun. Like, you could trash your improves and then power up your foragers with them. So, like, maybe you could buy capitalism to make your foragers make more money. Oh, your silver mines could gain improve. Okay, never mind. I'm liking capitalism a bit more. I forgot about the silver mine thing. I don't think I've ever seen silver mine plus capitalism before. So you could gain an improve off of your silver mine or off your forager. It still doesn't seem all that strong because you got to get that 5 and then you get capitalism with another 5. But I could imagine capitalism getting gained here, depending. What would a socialism event do? That's a good question. So if capitalism turns your actions that make money into treasures, I'm going to say socialism turns all of your actions into treasures, not just the capitalist class of actions. All actions have a joint stake in the treasures of the kingdom. Socialism turns all money into actions with +1 action. That's a nifty idea. Anyways, what did we open? I'm guessing it was Groom Gear. Yeah. Groom's good at gaining things, Gear's good at drawing things, and not colliding with things. Hitting 5 looks not too terribly important here. Silver Mine Capitalism combo aside, there's a lot of good 4s, so playing a bunch of Grooms seems like it's going to be really good here. This seems like one of those games where an estate pilot is going to sneak up on you. Like, you're going to have 2 to 3 Grooms in your deck anyway, just naturally. And then you add like a few more of them, all of a sudden you're threatening to pilot estates very trivially. Can come up. Well, it's just like you're going along, you're minding your own business. You got some Grooms. You're both gaining the nice action cards of the kingdom, and all of a sudden they add 3 more Grooms, and then you realize, oh, they're gonna pile out estates next turn. But then it's too late for you to add Grooms back because they take most of the estates. There's nothing left for your Grooms to do. Is Jack of all trades any good here? How do I feel about that? This VR is not going to trash. Well, Gear is like trashing. Trashes your cards for a turn and they come back and then you trash them again. It feels hard to justify taking a Forager over a Gear when you have that opportunity. I'm unsympathetic to VRSmith's highly delayed trashing. We'll see if they ever get around to it. Definitely not gear money. This is not gear money. It's just having a bunch of gears in your deck is better thinning than a forager is. Does the TGG bot like Groom? I don't recall. I think the Temple bot would probably play a gear money here with some silver mines and golds. So throne room is at 1, groom is at 5, gear is at 4. Like this position. It's the sort of position where all of a sudden they have a million grooms in deck and you're just like, oh shoot. Like if you just take 2 more grooms here, I think you're threatening a pilot next turn. Yeah, being a second player is just really overpowered because you get to see what your opponent's doing and then respond to it. Yeah, could VRSmith pile out if you take 2 grooms? Well, seems we're not that worried about it. Okay, we're a little bit worried. This safety duchy looked a lot more reasonable than the last safety duchy. I would love an expanded ban list. The problem is that the ban list has not been indexed to inflation, so the number of cards keeps increasing, and the proportion of cards I get to ban goes down with every new expansion. Once upon a time, possession was globally banned, right? I'm pretty sure that possession got removed from the game before ban lists, and then when ban lists got rolled out, possession was just automatically added to everyone's ban list. I don't know who you're talking about, style points. Couldn't be me. So does Tracer have the win here? If the pilot doesn't happen, you're not necessarily up a creek. Because if you've lowered estates to nothingness anyway, and then you just buy another duchy, it's not going to be easy for VRSmith to come back. Because all VRSmith deck does is groom a bunch of stuff. And if the estates are gone, there's nothing left to groom. Look at that forager providing the money for a province. Wow. So, yeah, this is over. 8 turns in. Groom's a little bit degenerate. So even if you couldn't province it, if you bought a duchy, you'd still be at 12. And VRSmith's deck scores like 4 points here. Like 1 estate and a duchy. So what this kingdom indicates is cards whose names end in room are very strong. Now imagine if storeroom had been in the kingdom. Yeah, Maroom is pretty strong. I'm not sure what we're doing in this position aside from contemplating on mortality. Maybe, is there an improve line that you could consider? I don't think you can do the improves and pile out, but maybe you could play some improves and gain some duchies. And then play tracer duds. Other cards ending in room. Council room's a good one. Well, only because you asked so nicely, Pro-Am. I feel this looks like a pretty good kingdom as far as card art goes. Harbor Village, absolutely beautiful card. 10 out of 10. Jack of all trades, also great. Would make a lovely avatar. Throne Room, it's alright. 5, 6 out of 10. Cartographer's good. 7 out of 10. He has a very shiny head. Silver Miner's hat, sure we can. I like that hat. It's a good hat. Is that what silver looks like? I don't know. I guess it just looks like rocks until you do something to it. I'm no miner. 7 out of 10. Forager. Why does the forager look so suspicious? And is that... It's a small apple, right? Maybe apples are small. I don't like apples. I don't eat apples very often. It seems like it's too small to be picking, right? I don't know. 4 out of 10. Gear. Looks computer generated. 3 out of 10. Improve. Same. 3 out of 10. Smugglers. It's solid. 5 out of 10. Groom. Great art. 9.5 out of 10. Wedding. What the hell is going on in this wedding? Is that what weddings look like? It looks like some weird ritual. Capitalism. She looks displeased with this deal. 8 out of 10. I like the background a lot. Uh-oh, did Tracer dud after all? Yeah, I think Harbor Village is number 1, but Jack and Groom are a close second and third. This is about to be a nice comeback, isn't it? Do we have a win here? Groom gear. Oh, we're 1 action short, aren't we? Right? So you need to groom gear, buy gear, play improve, and turn a groom into a duchy, but you can't play all 3 of those. If you had capitalism, you could play this improved non-terminally. Wow, these decks are a disaster all of a sudden. Three money. Look at this hand. What a lovely hand. Do we set aside an action though? Oh, never mind. This is actually a great hand. Forget what I said. You have a gear. We're good to go. All right, 2 money. Buy an estate. Oh wait. Get another copper to feed the forager. We don't want to set aside the actions? Oh, the groom is just so useless he'd rather set aside a copper at this point. That's funny. Okay, so we've drawn even more throne rooms. Will we find an action? So close. So you could throne the groom here and get 2 gears. Alright, this looks like a real turn. Do we have it? Uh, 6 money isn't enough money. Don't have an improve. Alright, this is a win. This is a win a few different ways, right? You could throne the horse and the improve and then play the groom and then empty duchies. You could throne the groom and play the improve and empty gears. If we're going the duchy route. Well, that was a nice little steal back by VRSmith. Tracer looked quite... that was 2 games in a row, right? That Tracer looked quite ahead and then had the rug yanked out from under him. Is that the match? I don't know. I have no idea what the score is. Looks like it's the match. VRSmith won, I believe, a majority of them. Anyways, the score was some number to some smaller number. Still the way I go.